I'm Robin Gagnon.
And I'm Eric Gagnon, and we sell restaurants. We started the nation's largest restaurant brokerage firm, We Sell Restaurants, over a decade ago. You can find us online at WeSellRestaurants.com.
We're on your radio once a week with the leading authorities in this industry, talking about subjects trending in the restaurant business. Tweet your own questions on the topic while we're on the air. Our Twitter handle, you know it, it's Sell Restaurants. Post on our Facebook page. It's facebook.com/We Sell Restaurants. And if we don't get to your question, we'll follow up on social media.
Our goal is to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. If you have any ideas for the show or any comments, you can email me at eric@WeSellRestaurants.com.
Today's show is a great one because professional athletes are investing in restaurant concepts, franchises, and clubs at increasing rates. Is it any wonder those stars on the field or court are looking off the field for their next big investment? Today, we're talking to former professional athletes on what's attracting them to the hospitality business. What are the franchise brands and individuals that make sense for a player's brand? How are restaurants in the hospitality industry a natural fit for those with a competitive spirit and a drive for success?
We're excited today to have on the show first Carlos Emmons, the president and CEO of Emmons LLC and owner of Wet Willie's in Atlanta. Carlos is from Greenwood, Mississippi, and a former linebacker in the National Football League. Emmons started playing football in the 7th grade as an offensive lineman before moving to wide receiver in the 8th grade. He attended Greenwood High School and played defensive back and linebacker. After high school, he played college football at Arkansas State University, where he was a 4-year starter and received a degree in business management. He earned second team All-Big West Conference in senior season, when he had 63 tackles, including 4 sacks. Emmons was drafted in the 7th round of the 1996 NFL Draft by the Pittsburgh Steelers and played for the Steelers until 1999. In 2000, he began playing with the Philadelphia Eagles and was named team defensive MVP in his final year. He signed as a free agent by the New York Giants in March of 2004 and was released in February of 2007 after career-ending back surgery. A star on the field and off while in the NFL, Emmons partnered with other NFL players to establish 51 Ways Charity Foundation based in Atlanta. This not-for-profit supports families of children who have been diagnosed with cancer and or blood disorder through financial, spiritual, and physical resources. The effort of 51 Ways Charity Foundation, Inc. has brought a multitude of celebrities and athletes together from around the country to support and raise awareness about cancer. Carlos opened Wet Willie's in Atlanta in March of 2010. The establishment specialized in serving the world's greatest daiquiris and great food with terrific service and entertainment. Carlos, we're glad you're on the show today. Thanks for joining us.
All right, thanks for having me.
Okay, well, our second guest is the CEO of Tinsley Family Concessions, Inc., George W. Tinsley Sr. He is the CEO of Pengeo Inc., Tinsley Group Inc., and Tinsley Family Concessions. Collectively, Tampa Bay, Florida's 3rd largest black-owned enterprise and one of the fastest-growing independent restaurant conglomerates in the nation. Abandoned as a baby and reared in poverty by an elderly babysitter, Tinsley's talent was undeniable, as was his stardom. He was recruited on scholarship to Kentucky Wesleyan College in 1966, and as a freshman led the team to the first of 3 Division II NCAA championships. He earned the rep of being a defensive demon, love that, took the Panthers to 2 national titles in 68 and 69, and was twice named All-American. He was selected as an alternate to the 1968 U.S. Olympic team and was soon drafted to the Old American Basketball League to play for the Oaks, Washington Capitals, Miami Floridians, Kentucky Colonels, and the New York Nets. Tinsley's 3-year tour ended in 1972. He graduated from Kentucky Wesleyan with honors and began an 8-year management career at Kentucky Fried Chicken Corporation, where he paved the way to his first franchise in 1984. Listen to this. Within 5 years, he had acquired and built 5 more franchises. His holdings now span 45 restaurants, including KFC, TGI Fridays, Starbucks, 6 Pizza Huts, Jose Cuervo's, Quiznos, and Home Team Sports Bar and Grill. After 21 years of entrepreneurship, George holds as many records in business as he did in basketball. He was honored as KFCC's premier operator for the second time in 1994. His TGI Friday in Tampa has won the highest domestic franchise sales award 3 times since 1999, and the Domestic Franchise of the Year award 3 years straight from 1999 to 2002. Tinsley was named Florida's 1999 Minority Entrepreneur of the Year, was inducted to the Kentucky Wesleyan Alumni Hall of Fame, and is ranked number 3 on the Power Brokers magazine's first annual list of Tampa Bay's biggest black-owned business. George, what an amazing resume. Thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you. It's my pleasure, and I think we need to update some of that material. It's a little bit old, but I appreciate the introduction and glad to be a part of it.
Great.
Good, but wait, there's more. Completing our panel today, I am excited to welcome Tye Hill and James Butler from the Golden Corral in South Carolina. Born Tye Hill is a former college and professional football cornerback who played the NFL for 5 seasons. After receiving All-American honors at my favorite team in the world, the Clemson Tigers University, he was drafted by the St. Louis Rams in 2006. He also played professionally for the Atlanta Falcons, Tennessee Titans, Detroit Lions. He now lives in Atlanta with his family. Hill owns 3 Golden Corral restaurants with his business partner, James Butler, who was a standout football player at Georgia Tech. James went on to play for the New York Giants when the team won the Super Bowl, and he also played professionally for the St. Louis Rams. Together, they found YBE Enterprise LLC, a food and hospitality company. The restaurants are located in Oxford, Alabama, Milledgeville, Georgia, and Centerville, Georgia. James, Tye, thank you for joining us today.
Hey, thanks for having us.
Okay, what a great panel. And each one of you has shown such drive to achieve both on and off the field. George, if you don't mind, I want to start with you. Can you tell us what part of being a player at that competitive level translates to business success? Is it the individual drive, the concept of teamwork? What's unique about professional ball players that leads to their success in the restaurant industry?
Well, I think that obviously it's the competitive spirit that's instilled in most athletes, no matter what sport it is. Also, the fundamentals that you're taught in understanding teamwork and how a team is much more successful than an individual. How you're able to read the playbook, and that translates into the operations manual that you get involved with a branded concept and understanding what that brand is, and not trying to transfer it into let's just say Tinsley's business versus the actual brand or concept that you're operating under. And just understanding the total philosophy, what the mission statement is, what your end game is, and being able to adapt to situations that are not the most favorable in the world, that you can take those and turn them into positives, and you inject your personality, your competitive spirit, your desire to be the best of the best in whatever concept that you're involved in, individual restaurant into the number of restaurants that you may be operating in. I find that to be the common denominator amongst athletes or former professional athletes, or even those that may not have attained that particular level that have gotten into business that are successful.
That's great.
James, you won a Super Bowl with the New York Giants. Is any of these skills or experience that you felt in that magical season were able to help you transferring that into operating successfully some Golden Corrals?
I think the biggest thing takeaway that I take from sports is the teamwork aspect, and together we can achieve more. And just the detail of team, and it starts from the top all the way, and it translates all the way to the bottom. That if we work together, we work hard together, we put in the work, we can get the results we want. And that's what I took, from sports. So
I think that's great. Now, Tye, let me ask you this question, because in researching this interview, we heard someone in the industry actually refer to the NFL as not for long. So did you go into professional football saying, this is the first step in my career, I've got to begin planning for life after the field? And if so, what attracted you to the restaurant business?
Well, first, I was actually blessed to get drafted in the first round, and and get a lot of money early. I knew from then that I had to do something with it, and I wanted to put it in something that I wanted to grow, because there, like you said, NFL not for long.
You know, I'm a perfect example of it. I was a first-round draft pick. I thought I was going to play forever. But, you know, obviously that doesn't happen. And I had to plan for the future. And that's kind of like how I got into the restaurant concept. I mean, it was just something that I wanted to grow in. It was something that I could do while I was playing ball. And when I got done playing ball, which I am now, that I can take over and run with it.
So, Carlos, kind of the same idea, because that definitely, you were sidelined with an injury ultimately. So what influenced you to go out and become this entrepreneur and franchise owner?
I think from the time I went to college, I was a business management major. I always wanted to look into franchising when I was done. I mean, the NFL was never promised to me. Like, unlike him, I wasn't the first round pick. I was a 7th round pick. So it's a lot harder to make the team. It's a lot harder to play long because of the politics of the game. So I always had the mindset of what am I going to do if I don't make it, or if my career is not as long as I want. So I graduated before I was actually even drafted, and I enrolled in the master's program, which I ended up withdrawing from because I got drafted. So things started like falling into place, and then once I got into it, started researching restaurants about which franchise I can get involved in. And initially I was thinking Chick-fil-A, but the waiting list for Chick-fil-A was just way too long. So
longer than that NFL list, right?
It started to put you to the top of the list, didn't it?
Yeah. So I actually was just in Miami one time with friends, and we always make comments like, man, I wish we had a Wet Willie's in Atlanta. And a light bulb went off. And I, right on the spot, walked in the restaurant. They weren't even franchising at the time. I talked to the managers. They put me in touch with the right people, and from there, things moved.
That's a great story. Hey, George, you have, you start with Kentucky Fried Chicken, and now you have, more than 45 stores, different brands and everything. And, you've done this early on when it was probably more taboo. Players would just get their money and try to live off of it. What advice would you have for rising stars or people who are currently playing in professional sports, and how to get started, or what should they be looking at?
Let me just clear the record. Back when I played professional basketball, the majority of the players at the time, during the summer, you worked. And the salaries that we made then, which my particular salary my first year was $25,000 for the first year, and which was not bad in '69, but it was definitely not something to jump and turn flips over. So you work during the summer and build your resume, or at least made some extra money. My career path, unlike the young men today, was going through. I was a teacher and a coach. I was an FBI agent for a short period of time. I was an event coordinator, and I went to work for KFC as my last job as I moved around and started working with the colonel in the training department because of my teaching and coaching background. Then I fell in love with what I was doing because I was working with franchisees who were making millions of dollars, and in those days they were doing extremely well. And as I said, I fell in love with it as I matriculated through the period of working with KFC. I became a supervisor in Atlanta, Georgia, 7 restaurants, then got promoted to 54, and then got promoted to vice president. And at that time, decided to look at franchising as a way to continue to grow my career with Burger King. I became a Burger King franchisee, but when I went in to resign, KFC made me another offer I couldn't refuse, and I became a franchise manager in Jacksonville, Florida, with South Georgia and North Florida. Then I started helping franchisees make millions, and decided that I wanted to do this myself. Didn't have the reserves built up, but Jesse Jackson opened up the minority programs with KFC, which presented a opportunity for me there, and so I took advantage of that and opened my first restaurant in Auburndale, Florida. So that was my transition that I got in, and after being a franchisee for about 5 years and seeing the different wars that were going on between the brand and the franchise community, I started looking to diversify, which as I explored, had an opportunity to get into the airport business in the concession side with bringing brands into the concessions business, and that opened the door for me that point, and where today I'm in Louisville, Kentucky, and Miami, Florida, Miami Airport, and also Tampa Airport, and we have 70 restaurants in the airport that we have numerous different brands. So the experience has been a very good one, and I think that the guys today, football and basketball in particular, are doing extremely well. In the basketball arena, Jamal Mashburn and Junior Bridgman are our marquee guys that have done well in both the restaurant side as well and car dealerships, with Jamal Mashburn is involved in. So there's quite a few guys that are doing extremely well.
So James, I want to piggyback on that and talk to you a bit, because you and Tye, you're at 3 stores now, and you're partners in the Golden Corral brand. I'm looking forward to talking with you in 10 or 15 years and hearing you tell us about your 70 units. But tell us this, did you look at a number of different brands before you selected Golden Corral, and what attracted you to be a franchisee?
We did look at other brands, just like Carlos. I wanted to look at the Chick-fil-A brand, but they actually wanted you to work in the stores, and we were playing football at the time, so we just started looking at other brands. And I grew up on Golden Corral brand. On Sundays, my parents would take me to Golden Corral all the time, so I had a connection with that brand. And once we did the research, we thought it was a good brand, and so we decided to go with it. And so obviously back in 2007, we were young. There were a lot of things that we didn't know, a lot of mistakes that we made along the way to get us involved in it. And but we decided to go with it, and we're here today with our stores. And for us, we thought it was the best move, and we've learned a lot. We actually went through the Golden Corral training as a manager, so we had to learn the business inside and out. And for us, we feel like that's the only way to know your business. You have to know your business inside and out, and that's what Tye and I did. And we thought it was the best move going forward. So.
Sure. And Tye, speaking of the training now, how well does that Golden Corral training prepare you? Because you didn't have any experience in the food service business, so how well did it prepare you to become, a successful franchisee?
Well, I tell you what, it's speaking a whole different language, so we definitely had to go through the training. I mean, when we got into this concept, we didn't, we had a management company running it for us because we were playing ball, and we spoke football. We didn't speak restaurant, so we actually it was a learning curve for us, but it took us a while. We are still learning, but without going through the actual training, I mean, there is no way that we would have been able to run these restaurants, because, we got probably the hardest concept out of everybody on this floor, because we have 4 restaurants with 4 stores inside of our one restaurant. So it takes a lot of heady person to run it. You gotta have the right people. When we went through the training, through the convention for Golden Corral, the starter, and I'm pretty sure everybody convention would say in the restaurant business, it's all about people. So we got to learn the people aspect, but we're good at that because we were athletes. We were ball teams. We know how to build teams. So it's all about for us is putting it all together and putting our aces in the places, as you would say.
I think that's great. And I think since everyone here is a franchisee, I think there may be a natural progression. And Carlos, maybe you can weigh in on this because, when you're on a team, there's a game plan, there's follow through, there's practice. So are some of those elements what makes an athlete a natural choice for a franchise? Because you've been bought into that idea of training, following a plan, commitment, practice, follow through, everything becoming second nature, and process operations and training are what a franchise is all about.
Yeah, I think that definitely helps. I mean, just the work that we're used to putting in. When I first opened the restaurant, probably like they said, putting in the time, I did the training just like they did. But from day one, we opened from 11 a.m. to 2 a.m. Literally for probably the first 40, 50 days. I was in there 7 days a week. I was there at 9 in the morning, leaving at 5 in the morning. I would go home, sleep for 2-3 hours. They were like, how are you doing this? I was like, I'm used to putting in work. And I was there every day, every shift. I wasn't even leaving. I would be there all day long. So like they say, you got to learn the business. I was willing to put forth the work. I felt like if I'm willing to risk my money in something, it needs to be something that I feel strongly about, and I'm willing to put forth the work to make it successful.
That's amazing. And that kind of work ethic is actually the work ethic that makes you successful and get through those, literally tens of thousands of people that are vying for that slot on a national professional team.
Definitely. I mean, a lot of people are not willing to put forth that type of work. I know a lot of not just athletes, a lot of people in general invest in things and try to start businesses and they don't have any kind of interaction with the business. They think that I'm just going to put money in there, it's just going to run, and they don't know anything about it, and a lot of them get burned. So I think that the biggest thing you need to realize is if you're going to take the time to open something, do the research, look at their numbers, look at other restaurants, look at locations, and really research what you're doing and what you're investing in.
Yeah, what we tell these people, we call them, the owner absentee, the dream. And what we tell them as restaurant brokers, go buy shares in the Cheesecake Factory if you want to run the restaurant absentee.
Yeah.
That's the best way you can do it. You're so right about that.
It is, and I think that's a lesson we see again and again as we interview folks on this show, whether it is folks like you who are professional athletes and bring that sort of skill set to the game, or whether it's somebody who's starting out in the business. There's no free lunch. You got to do the time in this business. You've got to put in the effort and learn it from the ground up. One segment of our show we focus on at the end is called Restaurant Reality, and we really go into the reality of owning a restaurant business. And this is fascinating discussion. We want to get back on the air in just a moment with all three of our guests. We've been talking to former professional athletes on what attracts them to the hospitality business. So we have Carlos Emmons, owner of Wet Willie's in Atlanta, George Tinsley Sr. of the Tinsley Family Concessions, and Tye Hill and James Butler from the Golden Corral. You're on the air with Eric and Robin Gagnon. We're the restaurant brokers. Remember, our goal each week is to satisfy your appetite for acquisition, feed the need for restaurant reality, and serve up a recipe for business success. Today's focus is on franchisees who are also former professional athletes. They're going to show you how you avoid dropping the ball, and we'll be right back after this brief commercial timeout.